Hey YouTube, this is PrimetimePokemon. In this video, I'll be reviewing and then giving away the second of the 3 Pokemon X and Y Kalos starter sets. Last month, I reviewed and gave away the Chespin deck. This month will be Fennekin, and then next month will be the third and final X and Y starter set, Froakie. These starter sets were $14.99 a piece, and inside each starter set you get the following things. You get a 60 card deck, a checklist, a coin, playmat, and rule sheet. You get a black and white booster pack, a deck box, damage counters, and then 1 code card for the respective deck that you just bought, and it unlocks 60 cards for the online TCG. So again, the deck I'm reviewing in this video is the Fennekin deck. It is a fire and darkness type deck, and here are the cards in the deck. And I'll be going through each and every one of the 60 cards in the deck in a minute here. So to summarize this deck, up here it says your adventure begins. It's just basically stating that this is one of the first decks to include Kalos region Pokemon. And then it says, choose Fennekin, burn up the opposition. Start your adventure in the Kalos region with the fire type Pokemon Fennekin and this 60 card ready to play deck. This new deck unlocks a world of exciting Pokemon battles and gives you the head start you need to battle and win in the Pokemon trading card game. As a fire type deck, the Fennekin deck is full of powerful moves. Grab it and blaze your path to victory. So it sounds like a really promising deck. So I'll open it up and show everything inside and then review the cards. And at the end of this video, I will lay out the rules to entry to win this theme deck. So I'll open it up here. I'll show everything on the inside. Here is the playmat. This is very useful for beginning in the TCG how to play. Here's the card list. Damage counters, burn marker, poison marker. There is a booster pack that I can show. Before I do that, I'll show what the deck box looks like. It has Fennekin on it. A good way to store the 60 cards that you're going to use in your deck. Here's the online TCG code card. Again, it unlocks all 60 cards in this deck. There is a Fennekin coin. Pretty cool looking. And then 1 booster pack. And that's what makes these decks more expensive than previous decks, because they include booster packs. It includes a Legendary Treasures booster pack. So whoever does win this theme deck will get all those items I just mentioned. And I can show the foil versions of the main Pokemon line in this deck. And these cards have to be used in the deck. There's a 4-4-2 line of these Pokemon. But the Pokemon cards in the actual deck, besides these ones, aren't hollow. So the first one is Fennekin, Braixen, and then Delphox. So those are all holographic versions. I'll set those aside and then show the 60 cards in the deck. Actually 57 inside this deck box, plus the 3 that I just showed to make 60. And I actually already opened this prior to making this video so I could organize the cards inside this deck. So the first line of Pokemon in this deck is the main Pokemon line in the deck, a 4-4-2 line of Fennekin, Braixen, and Delphox. So Fennekin, 60 HP for a starter type Pokemon basic, 2 moves, Scratch and Live Coal, so very similar to the Chespin card from the first Kalos starter set. Very solid, definitely recommend using that Pokemon as a starter type in any fire type deck out there. Stage 1 Braixen, 80 HP, so below average HP. 2 moves, fire breathing, does 20 damage for 2 energy cards, plus 20 more damage if you get a heads when you flip a coin. So even if that move does 20 damage, it's still an average move, so above average move I would say overall. And then Flame Tail, average move there, does 60 damage for 3 energy cards. I would say this is an average to slightly below average card just because the HP is a little bit lower, but the retreat cost is still quite low if you end up putting it into the active Pokemon spot and need to retreat it in case Braixen's close to getting knocked out. So 4 Braixen, and then 1 Delphox here, and then the other one's at hollow, so 2 total. So again, a 4-4-2 line of Fennekin, Braixen, and Delphox. I can't help thinking about what does a fox say when I see Delphox here. But Delphox stage 2, 140 HP, which is good. I've seen a lot of Pokemon that have higher HP as a stage 2, but 140 is not bad. 2 moves, Will-O-Wisp does 30 damage for 2 energy cards, and then Fire Blast does 120 damage for 4 energy cards, but you have to discard an energy attached to this Pokemon. So what I would do was I would try to start the game with Fennekin in the active Pokemon spot, see how that goes, and then I would make sure to set up Fennekin, Braixen, and Delphox, another line of this Pokemon, on the bench so that you can attach 4 energy cards at least to Delphox. That way when you move it into the active Pokemon spot, you can start using Fire Blast right away. Old deck I posted on YouTube a couple years ago now, Magmortar in that deck was similar to this card, where I would just load up that card with energy. That way I could put 6 energy cards on, let's say, Delphox here. I could use Fire Blast 3 turns in a row before having to put more energy cards on it. So a very powerful Pokemon there. Unfortunately, the HP is not the highest, but it does have a low retreat cost. Unlike the main line of Pokemon in the Chespin deck, where Chestnut, I believe, had a 4 colorless energy card retreat cost. Next up are a couple of basic Pokemon. Pansear, there are 2 Pansear in the deck. 70 HP, above average. Collect allows you to draw a card, and then Fury Swipes does 10 damage times the number of heads you get when you flip 3 coins. This card is quite similar to the Pansage card in the Chespin deck. So far, these first 2 decks in the X and Y starter sets are extremely similar. So it's another solid basic Pokemon. Slugma. There are 2 Slugma in this deck. 80 HP and only 1 move, Combustion, which does 20 damage for 2 energy cards. So average move, above average HP. So I don't have any problems with any of the fire type Pokemon in this deck. I'd actually stick with those for quite some time. On to the darkness type Pokemon. There is a 4-2 line of Poochyena and Mightyena. 60 HP for Poochyena. It does 20 damage for 2 energy cards, so an average starter Pokemon. I definitely like Fennekin better than this card as a starter type, but it's not bad. 4 of those and 2 Mightyena. Average HP for a stage 1, only 1 move called Hard Bite, and it does 40 damage plus 20 more damage if you get a heads when you flip a coin. So I do like this line a fair amount. It is quick, it only requires 2 energy cards total, and you can even attach a fire energy card to both Mightyena and Poochyena, and the retreat cost is only 1 colorless energy card for both. So a solid line there, I'd say average overall. Next up is a new Pokemon from the Kalos region, Inkay. 60 HP, 1 move called Peck, which does 10 damage for 1 energy card. Can't get any more average than that, but not bad. So only 3 total darkness Pokemon in this deck. Now we're going to move on to the colorless type. Fletchling. There are 2 Fletchling in the deck. 50 HP, so below average HP, but it can do 20 damage for 1 energy card. But if you get a tails when you flip a coin, this card does nothing. So if I see moves like that on cards, I just toss those. I wouldn't use this card in a deck at all, especially below average HP, and still might not even do anything at all. So the last Pokemon in this deck is Furfrou, and this is the basic Pokemon. 2 of these in the deck, 90 HP, 2 moves, Tight Jaw, does 20 damage, and if you get a heads when you flip a coin, it paralyzes the active Pokemon of your opponents. And then Sharp Fang does 50 damage for 3 colorless energy cards. So that is it for the Pokemon in this deck. Not very many. It seems like Nintendo's going forward with the good strategy of not having so many Pokemon in the deck, but having more energy cards than Pokemon. So, overall, if I was to rate these Pokemon, comparing it to the Chespin deck, I would say I like the Pokemon better. I definitely like all the fire type Pokemon in this deck. The darkness type are very solid, but the colorless, not that great, but I do like these colorless Pokemon better than the colorless Pokemon in the Chespin deck, just because they aren't so slow to attack, and they're just better as basic Pokemon. But the colorless Pokemon in both decks are something to be desired. I'd probably add more fire or darkness in this deck and grass and fairy type in the Chespin deck. So on to the trainers and supporters. Pretty similar trainers and supporters as the Chespin deck. There are 2 switch trainers, and this allows you to switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. There aren't really any Pokemon in this deck with a high retreat cost. I don't think there's any Pokemon that have higher than a 2 colorless energy card retreat cost. So switch isn't as useful as it is in that Chespin deck, where some of the Pokemon have 4 colorless energy cards retreat costs. Next trainer is a Pokemon catcher. This is a very useful trainer. There are 2 of these, and it says to flip a coin. If heads, switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with his or her active Pokemon. Now the place that you really want to use these trainer cards are in spread damage type decks, where you spread damage around. All of the Pokemon of your opponents have damage on them, so then you can pick and choose which card you want to move into the active Pokemon spot and attack that card. But what I would do is, if I had Braixen and then Delphox into the active Pokemon spot, so Delphox for sure, possibly Braixen, but where Delphox can do 120 damage per turn, if your opponent's trying to set up a stage 2 Pokemon card on their bench, let's say still needs another energy card or 2 energy cards to even attack, I would definitely try using a Pokemon catcher card to move that Pokemon into the active Pokemon spot and then be able to knock it out with Delphox's Fire Blast move in 1 or 2 moves. So that's why these cards are very powerful and popular, and they've been in many sets recently just because they are very good. I definitely recommend even adding a couple more into your deck if you can find them. Next up is the last trainer. There are 4 Pokeballs, and this is another trainer card that you have to flip a coin to use. But if you get a heads, you can search your deck for a Pokemon and put it into your hand. Since this deck mainly consists of basic Pokemon, and you're already using a Pokemon catcher trainer where you have to flip a coin, I'd probably remove 2 of these from your deck and replace it with a different trainer. And then there are, I guess technically these are trainer cards, but 2 supporters. There are 2 Tiernos, and it allows you to draw 3 cards. Earlier on in the game, probably the better using these. It can get extra cards into your hand, get you that energy card you need or a Pokemon that you need to play. So that's it for the trainers. Compared to the Chespin deck, I definitely like the trainers and supporter cards in this deck better. So far I like the Pokemon better and the trainers better. And then 24 energy cards in this deck, similar to the Chespin deck. 12 of each, so 12 darkness, 12 fire. So that's it for reviewing the Fennekin deck. If I was to give this card a rating, like I do on my blog, out of 5, I would say this deck would be a 3 out of 5. It's definitely better than the Chespin deck that I reviewed and gave away last month, but it's not that great. So we'll have to see once I review the Froakie deck how that deck compares to the first 2 decks I've reviewed in this Kalos starter set group of theme decks. So now to give this theme deck away, and the way that you can win this theme deck is you have to do the following things. You have to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, and then if you'll remember when I gave away the Chespin deck, I asked for what your favorite starter Pokemon was from the Kalos region. Now I want to know what your favorite Stage 2 starter Pokemon is from the Kalos region. So Chespin, Froakie, and Fennekin, they all have Stage 2 evolutions. Which one of those 3 Stage 2 evolutions is your favorite? So all you have to do, once you've subscribed and liked this video, is comment saying you'd like to win this theme deck, and then just tell me what your favorite Stage 2 starter Pokemon from this region is. So good luck to everyone, and if you're unsure of the rules to entry, make sure and read the video description of this video. I will have the rules to entry there as well. So good luck to everyone. I hope you enjoyed listening to me review the Fennekin deck. Before you go, make sure and check out all the links in the video description of this video, my blog, Facebook, and Twitter links, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.